Доброго
Good afternoon, dear ladies and gentlemen. UCMC continues its work. The topic of the next press briefing, elections in Belarus. What are the possible surprises at the finish line? I give the floor to our speakers. Good afternoon, dear audience. Thank you for your attention. We thank UCMC that they provide this platform for us. We, Belarus Information Center, we hold such briefings about elections, presidential elections in Belarus, but there are in reality no real elections. The process has started, and today we're going to speak about what influences the process of voting, and maybe everyone is interested what will happen when results of voting will appear. And Olena, I'm Yuriy Syrotiuk, Belarus Information Center, NGO, and Olena Talstaya, our guest from Minsk, co-chair of Solidarity Razam, head of our information center, Belarus poet Olexandr Irvanets, and we are waiting for Roman Bezsmertny, who was ambassador of Ukraine to Belarus, and he was also in contact group in Minsk, and he knows about the processes that are ongoing in Belarus. I would like to start the activity of our center, Belarusian Information Center. It provoked some reaction from some structures. We want that you understand, the journalists understand what is going on in the neighboring country. And Russian special services for the last several weeks, they sent specialists, those who fled to Putin, those who asked Putin to interfere in Belarus elections, Mr. Tsepkala, and we see the pro-Russian paratroopers, so-called paratroopers in Kiev, and everyone understands that everyone understands that it is important to understand what is going on in Belarus now, what sentiments are there, and we would like to speak about the process of elections. We would like to speak with presidential candidate, who was the presidential candidate in 2010. We would like to speak with Volodymyr Neklyaev. He is now in Belarus. Do you hear us? Do you hear us? Vladimir Prokopovich Neklyaev. I would like to say several words. He was not only the candidate for the presidency, he is a prominent Belarus poet, and he has been in opposition against Lukashenko for a long time. And he became a candidate, and with Statkevich and Salnikov, they were sent to prison, as it is usually done in Belarus. And Neklyaev is a big moral authority in Belarus, as Mr. Orlov. We had him last week here. And Vladimir Neklyaev is a prominent figure among intelligentsia of Belarus. Do you hear us? Vladimir, please share your opinion on the electoral process and events that are ongoing in Belarus and what can come out of it. No connection. Sorry, there is some delay. It is important to get this information from prominent figures from Belarus. And we will establish first connection with Volodymyr Neklyaev. And about arrival at Tsepkalo. Do you hear us? Do you hear us? Mr. Neklyaev, do you hear us? Yes, we hear you, and we would like to know your opinion about the situation with the elections in Belarus. We hear you. Then I'm going to speak about elections, about the address of the president to the parliament, and we believe that nothing good will come out of it. There is no good connection. Connection is really bad. I cannot hear him. He doesn't feel good.
Ніхто з кандидатів у президенти не бере якусь на себе відповідальність за...
He speaks Belarusian language. They say go to elections. They want to count the votes. People try to organize, but for them it is difficult because they try to have some actions. And tomorrow, there is no proper connection. I cannot translate this. We cannot translate from Belarus. We have only a translation from Russian, Ukrainian, English. We cannot do it in Belarus. We are not from Belarus, sorry.
Пане Володимир, так що...
Mr. Neklyaev, about the Belarusian elections and what you propose to Belarus people to do. I did everything I could. And there is no good connection. I cannot hear what he says. No proper connection. It is impossible to translate, sorry.
І пропонував усім кандидатам. Дасть мало Альону Шину і зняти цих виборів і заховати свій штаб, платформу, як пляцовку такого свіжого нового демократичного духу. Жаль, я гэта рабіў раней, уже месяц, бачыў небяспеку, якая у гэтай платі.
Друзі, на жаль...
До протесту. Такой, на жаль, до мене не прислухався ніхто з тих, хто йде на вибори.
No proper connection, we cannot hear what he says.
А що ви порадите білорусам?
What do you advise to people in Belarus? What should they do on the 9th, on 10th? Should they go to the streets? What should be the position? The question is. No proper connection, sorry. Let them go, he says, but this is everything I hear. No proper connection, sorry. No proper connection. No proper connection. No connection. Sorry. It is impossible to hear. Sorry, Vladimir, we cannot hear you properly. Sorry. No one can hear this. Thank you very much for being with us. We thank Volodymyr Neklyaev, but we cannot hear him. Sorry. We thank you for being with us, but we cannot hear you properly. I would like to say several words because I know what he says. He wrote about this on Facebook. His idea was, he proposed that all registered candidates, they should take their candidates from elections and to have the situation when only Lukashenko remains. And he addressed Tikhanovsky headquarters and Chereching headquarters, but no one replied. No one wanted to get out their candidatures. And also in his Facebook, he says that when we are a million, then no law enforcement forces will be able to do something with us. And in his last thesis, he wanted to provide this opinion. Sorry for this interruption in connection. So we hope for better connection next time. So what we've seen during the previous weeks. During last press conference on Wednesday, we got information about detention of private army of Putin, Wagner Group. They were detained in Belarus, and we said that Russia carries out the same war with Belarus like they do in Ukraine, but in non-conventional methods. And they try to undermine Belarus state because Belarus is a strategic important object. And during the previous 24 years, Moscow tried to play in union state with Belarus, and they try to provide cheap gas, cheap oil to Belarus. Now they want to make an Anschluss of Belarus, and our information center tries to bring information from Belarus. The situation is terrible there. There were no fair elections in these years, and constitutional rights and national rights are infringed. The national flag is banned. They do not have the right for free choice, for free elections, because what they call presidential elections, they are not recognized except by Russia, and Ukraine does not recognize the elections. And there won't be presidential elections on Sunday. There will be a nomination of Lukashenko as a president. There will be falsification of elections and tribulation of people. And this can be used by Russia. What can we do in order to hear the voices of Belarusian people? And we would like to ask Olena Talstaya, head of Solidarity Movement, Razam.
Good afternoon. The two most important questions are what will be on July 9th. This is the question which everyone should answer.
Хочеться констатувати, що вже ось розпочалися попередні.
Now the previous preliminary elections have started, and these elections will not be recognized both by international community and Belarusian community. And this electoral elections, they are during pandemia. There are no observers, no independent observers, and no observers from other countries, and all calls to nobody counts the votes. Showing some activity, vivid activity at the polling stations. Everything will be to the benefit of Lukashenko as a candidate. Belarus see the rallies in the streets of every city in Belarus, and there's no satisfaction of people. It is impossible to stop people. They will rally again. People will go to the streets of Belarusian cities. This is a wave which no one can contain. Our goal, Belarusian goal, is that this is not just a crowd in the streets. This is citizens of Ukraine, and there are attempts to denationalize these protests, but there is a motto, let Belarus live, and let Belarus be together. Freedom to Belarus, freedom to political prisoners, no elections with Lukashenko. Of course, all politicians and our movement Razam addressed the registered candidates so that they withdraw their candidates. If these people are Belarusians and if they are for freedom of Belarus, they would have withdrawn their candidatures. Then the elections would be deemed illegitimate. But as the registered candidates continue their running for president, this means that they help Lukashenko and they help him to steal the victory from Ukrainian people, and Belarusian nationalists, they should go to the streets with the requirement no elections with Lukashenko and Yermoshina. What will be after the 9th? What will be after the 9th of August? This is a question which everyone in Belarus is thinking about now. All Belarus people came back to Belarus because we need to build an independent Belarus. Since the time of nation actions, where the Belarus elite, where Vyacheslav Syrotiuk spoke, he said that this fight cannot finish on August 9th, especially if Lukashenko and Putin will continue to be together. Putin's interests remain in Belarus. He has been helping Lukashenko to rule the country for 27 years. In the case when Lukashenko, with the help of Putin, will use force against Belarus people, what Syrotiuk said. We shall do the strike. We shall do the all national strike, and we will not pay taxes to budget. They are non-violent methods of fight. And we shall show how to live in democratic and free Belarus in which we want to live. They are the two main items. What you wanted to say? Please speak in Russian. We have invited the translators and they do not understand your Belarusian. But you have no... Yes, you can speak Belarusian. This time we have translators so that the international community hear you too. Thank you for your attention. Okay, I will try to speak Russian. This is for translation into English, not into Russian. I understand Ukrainian, but the idea which I want to express is to the international community and to Belarusian people as a Belarusian politician. There are no elections in Belarus now to go and vote and to go to polling stations means to work for Lukashenko and Putin and helping Lukashenko to steal the victory from Belarusian people. There is no sense to go for elections on August 9th. The only way Belarusians can become not objects but the subjects of power, because Belarusian people is the subject according to the constitution. So on August 9th, our people should go to the streets, not with white bracelets, which is the symbol of failure, but with national symbols. White and red symbols, national symbols of Belarus. These national symbols, the flags of Belarus in the cities of Belarus, demonstrates our existence as a country and our right to choose during elections, to choose the power. We have the right to elect our rulers, and the main thing for Belarusian nationalists to lead Belarusian people and to bring these national symbols and elementary mottos: freedom to Belarus, freedom to political prisoners, no elections with Lukashenko and Yermoshina. Our call to all registered candidates to withdraw. If there is any threat of force, the only thing is we can do all national strike, all national campaign not to pay taxes. This is the way which is peaceful way of non-violent opposition, because now we see forceful attempt to get power. The regime of Lukashenko was supported by Moscow, and now Moscow also demonstrates its geopolitical interests in Belarus. Only our national symbols and our rallies with the presence of Belarusian people in the streets can help us to avoid annexation and help to avoid the integration roadmap signing by Lukashenko and help not to cheat Belarusian people again. For Ms. Olena, she is not one of the few Belarusian politicians who speak Belarusian. In Belarus, Russian is the national language. That is why speaking in Kiev ask them to speak with Belarusian language. Because those politicians who are in Kiev from Belarus, but they do not speak Belarusian, they are fake politicians. They in fact Russia's candidates. Russia has been protecting their own interests for 27 years. Yesterday, Lukashenko spoke at the television to the people, and he was saying that Russia has always been the friend of Belarus, assisting Belarus. Now the only pro-Russian candidates compete on these elections, and Belarusian citizens who speak Belarusian, they are in the streets, because in Belarus administrative detainment is applied to people who are with their own national flags or who speak their own Belarusian language. We want that Belarusian people have the right to have the chance to elect freely, and we do not want Russia to come to Belarus. Many people say that if you are against Lukashenko, then you are for Putin. In Belarus, there is a third factor. This is the Belarusian nation with their own Belarusian language. For me, Belarusian language is easier understandable than Belarusian. Belarusian is easily understandable, and I hope that we next years ask the translator to Russian, not to Belarusian. Then we are giving the floor to Olexandr.
Ситуація
Thank you. We understand that the situation was described by Mr. Neklyaev and Mr. Syrotiuk and Olena, and the situation is disturbing and dangerous once again. We repeat, we do not interfere, we do not have such intentions or such opportunities to interfere in elections. We say that this is not election, this is fake. Lukashenko should leave and democratic elections should be held in Belarus. And on the 9th and on the 10th, everything will not end, but only will start. And we will continue our activity. And on the 12th, we will meet and we will hold our regular briefing. And you know that we do not know the future. I believe that many people will go to the streets. We hope for 1 million, and we hope that by democratic way in this brotherly country we will be able to change the situation. in order to have democracy there and to have a democratically elected head of the state, not the one who is in power for 26 years. And we will hold the meeting on Saturday and Sunday. We will monitor the events on Sunday, and in a week, on the 12th, we hope to see you here, and we will be able to speak about these things a lot. If you have questions, if Ukrainian journalists have questions, they may ask. Lisa Galavatov is channel, I ask Olena, and maybe you will speak Belarusian. About anti-Russian rhetorics, how can you explain this? It is propagated by Lukashenko actively. Wagner group, 33 people were detained, and second group is in the south of Belarus, they say, and also we know that he brings troops to the border between Belarus and Russia. How can you explain this? And if we suppose that not all Belarusians will go to the street, and there will be forceful scenario, like in case on the in 2006, 2010, what should protesters do? Maybe they will be arrested and sent to prison. What will be the end of this action? What is your opinion on this? Thank you. This question often brings some confusion to people. They want to see that this person protects sovereignty of Belarus, but he has never been a defender of Belarus. He only defended his own personal interests. He only protects his office, his financial flows. This is an illusion that he does something for Belarus. He is not capable manager. He does not develop creativity. He doesn't develop agriculture. He doesn't do anything. He just protects his own interests. So this rhetoric, this is only is done for him, and he was in office only due to the support of the Kremlin. Now he is trying to play with this card because we believe that he came to his own trap. They were speaking about union state. He didn't want to build his own independent Belarus, and now they tried to create above the state structures and a single currency, and he will be deprived of his currency flows, and he should be pressured. And Moscow threatens the Belarus and the loss of independence, and now Lukashenko is trying to present himself as a protector of Belarus, but he is selling Belarus to Russia, and he just tries to protect his own interests, his own security, protection of his own family. His family is now in power. He is like a sultan. This is the only sultan in Europe, and there are no such sultans even in the East. He is the person that sells Belarus. He betrays Belarusian people. And during his previous years, he used his special forces. He came to his forces, and he hopes only for military force, for the special forces. And Belarusians really don't like this. And we see that people of Belarus, they never came to streets before, and now they understand that this is legal. They do not do everything illegal in the streets. They feel that they are in their own right. And people, they won't be afraid. They all will come in the streets. And when we have the million of people or even more, then special equipment won't help him. Any aggressive actions of Lukashenko, they are illegal. And this will bring Western sanctions, and he knows about it. So there will be a reaction of international community. That's why for us it is really important to spread information and to address Ukrainian power, Ukrainian people, and to international community. And Putin is trying to provoke in different ways, and you in Ukraine, you clearly understand this because you have your own experience with it. And we would like to avoid blood scenario for Belarus.
Let me say a few words. In fact, Lukashenko from the very beginning quarreled with the National Democrats, with the opposition. He has changed the flag, you know this. And now he cannot go there. In his speech, he said that I will not give up the country. This means that he will not give his power to anybody. He protects the country, but this is not the country under the white and red flag. This is this red and green flag and this anthem from Russia. So he will protect this Russian created monster. Vasily Rudenko. There are 4 scenarios which we can expect before the elections for patriots, for Belarusian patriots. The first scenario is not to come, to ignore the elections. The second is to come but not to support any candidate. The third version is to spoil the ballot, and the fourth is to vote against Lukashenko, but to vote for some other candidate. There is only one scenario. They are the schemes of one scenario, which you said. Whatever you write or draw in the ballot, nobody looks into your ballot. Nobody will look into your ballot. People of Belarus have never been visited these polling stations because they always use it. They are cheated. People of Belarus have never visited polling stations. When Belarus people are forced to come for elections to polling stations, when they are forced, then they go. Now we see the widespread campaign, which is only support to Lukashenko, not with national symbols, but with some Russian-made symbols. And if we see any people in this electoral campaign, they are for Lukashenko. The only way is to ignore the polling stations and to rally in the streets. According to the constitution, we have the right for power. When the representative function does not work, Belarusians have the right to express their will in the streets of Belarusian cities. This is constitutional way. For Ukrainian journalists to understand, 5,000 polling stations, they have only 7 persons from opposition, so nobody will control the results of polling. So all candidates of district commissions, they are all from Lukashenko's force, and they are remote from the Central Election Commission. Any visit to the polling station means that you are for Lukashenko. Ukraine, when President Yanukovych was elected, there were falsifications in Donetsk region. But in Belarus, the situation is different. Even if all people will vote for Tikhanovska, or whether they will eat all their ballots, it does not matter, because the district polling station commission, she will write what Lukashenko will say, because for 27 years they have not any fair election campaign in Belarus. So the only way is to go to the streets with peaceful rallies. Ukraine is afraid that the Russian Federation can use this chance the same way as they used Maidan rallies in Ukraine in 2013 and 2014. Because now Belarus opposition is afraid that the large dictator can come, can enter Belarus the same way as he entered Ukraine during non-violent protests. So we should support Belarus. If someone watched on TV Lukashenko's speech, he said 5 times that he wants to be with Russia, that nobody will quarrel him with Russia. The thing is that for him not to protect national interests of Belarus, he wants to protect himself, because unfortunately Ukrainians do not understand that Lukashenko protects only his own interests, because if he is not elected, he will be in jail, and our task is to help Belarus to become national country. Now we say as live as a colony of Russian. This is Belarus Soviet Republic, where for Belarusian language you are in jail, where Belarus has no civil rights. Shall we propose them to be slaves of Lukashenko, to be slaves of Putin? Belarusian people, they have the right for their own free nation. Lukashenko will be the failure. Lukashenko yesterday said that he is ready to surrender to Russia and to stay the governor of Belarus when Belarus will be only the region of Russia. Belarus was destroyed in 1994. I am Roman Kucharuk, a journalist. I have a question. Maybe 1 year ago, we have elected here a mini Lukashenko, and we may need then 26 years to get rid of him. In Ukraine, the elections were fair, which is not so in Belarus. A collective Zelensky in the persons of 3 women now runs for presidential candidacy in Belarus. Lukashenko does not speak Belarusian as well as other presidential candidates. So they are two Russian worlds who now fight in these elections. These three ladies, they are for everything good, but they do not see political prisoners. They do not see that they should break relationship with Russian KGB. Lukashenko fights with Russia so that the Federal Bureau of Investigations of Russia is in the same place, and Belarusian Security Service office, they in the same building. This is for you to know. In Ukraine, yes, there were kind of election without choice, because oligarchic mass media, they created alternative from nothing. We have the media power in Ukraine, and without war, presidents can be created. In Belarus, there will be pro-Russian scenario. In Ukraine, that was a scenario as if when you close your eyes and you are with your back to Russia, then the war will stop itself. No, it is impossible. In Belarus, Putin understands that the Maidan in Belarus will take place. Putin wants to head it. In Ukraine, he used this chance to capture Ukraine, but in Belarus, he wants to become the head of this opposition. Liberal Ukrainian mass media, they present Russian-speaking Belarusians who fled from Belarus, and they say that he is an oppositioner, but he is not. Real oppositioners, they may not, they should not register to run for presidency. Mr. Neklyaev can say what is the fate of real candidate. He was a political prisoner after he tried to run for presidential elections in 2010. So both Zelensky scenario, Maidan scenario are now tried in Belarus. Our task is not to let Lukashenko to surrender independence of Belarus. We call on Belarus to speak their own national language, to use their own national flags. Look what is happening in Belarus. Pro-Russian candidates started speaking Belarusian. Look at Tikhanovskaya. Her husband visited Russian Kremlin, and he was a part of pro-Russian candidates in Belarusian election. But now Tikhanovskaya, after these rallies in the streets of Belarus, Tikhanovskaya changed her speeches. She says that Crimea is Ukraine, and she speaks a little bit of Belarusian, and the more they visit these rallies, the more they try to to change their mottos. But this seems like Zelensky scenario. Tsepkalo sent some letter to Putin where he claims Lukashenko works against Russia, that his activities are anti-Russian. This letter was rejected
At once, no, at once.
immediately. It was not accepted because the author was not had no right to address Putin on behalf of Belarusian people. Belarusian people did not give this right. The response was from Yevgen Primakov. I can quote him in Russian. I am sure that our president will attentively consider the actions and speeches of Belarusian president and regime, and we will bid so our activities taking into account these speeches and actions. There are unregistered candidates like Tsepkalo, and there are Wagner's near Minsk. We do not know what else what new surprises we will see in the finish line and at this election and campaign. Dobroven Cartoon, Ape Invest Journal. The last speech of Lukashenko says that Ukraine is a bad example. Maidan is a bad example for Lukashenko, as he said in his speech. Does this mean that he is afraid of this scenario, or is this only he says this to be liked by Russia? And what do you think how Ukrainian-Belarusian relationship will develop further? Yes, Lukashenko is afraid of national symbols, and he is afraid of street rallies. When people on their own walls they hang national flags, then special forces come and take them out. But how they can interfere? This is non-violent process. Anyway, Lukashenko's regime will not be as it was before, and we want good relations, friendship with Ukraine. Whatever will happen on August 9th, we have joint enemy and joint lack of security, and we can only use our joint efforts in our defending ourselves from this aggressor country we are neighbors of. Lukashenko is afraid of Maidan. He speaks, when in his speeches he says so every time. I would like to recommend Lukashenko to be afraid of pro-Russian Maidan. Belarusian Maidan is when the Belarusians protect their independence, and this is a very good foundation for national countries' independence. He should be afraid of pro-Russian forces, not nationalist forces. if there are any victims after the rallies on August 9th, then he will have nowhere to go. Now he has some chance to improve his image and not to get death sentence when he will be brought to the court, when he will be brought to responsibility for his dictatorship. Ukrainian country all 26 years have been trying to cooperate with Belarusian president, not with Belarusian people. Independent Belarus is a task number one for Ukraine. When Belarus loses its independence, Ukraine will lose its neighbor. Putin does not need independent Belarus, and joining Belarus to Russia will improve Putin's ratings in Russia. We have been friends for 26 years with Batska, with a dictator of Belarus. I know one priest in Chernigiv who helps Belarus to restore their national church. So our allies are people of Belarus, not the Belarus president. Not Zelensky, not other Ukrainian presidents. They have never been speaking with Lukashenko about political prisoners. They talked only about crude oil, about business projects, and this is the problem. People come and go, but we need independent Belarus forever. Whoever is our president, we should build friendship with Belarusian people, not with the president. That is the goal of Belarusian Center. Ukraine Crisis Media Center gives these premises for this center, Belarus Information Center, and moreover, Polish solidarity leaders yesterday spoke for the independence of Belarusian nation. We expect that the group in Ukraine, the group for independent Belarus, will make some programmatic statement for Belarus independence. We have the problem in relations with Belarus, because when the ambassador speak with our president, it was only talks about the crude oil, not about our friendship.
Domskaya TV, Mr. Kola. About statistics, can you tell us the real figures, the real ratings for and against Lukashenko and Belarus? One more question. Do we have such Ukrainian experience that Belarus may take for the future from political agenda? Real percentage. The matter is, we do not have proper sociological research. It is forbidden. No one is able to carry out surveys. This is Lukashenko's structure. They do not do real things. No one is interested in this. The Lukashenko regime is not interested in the real ratings. No one carries out surveys. This is an imaginary organization that just provides some figures that are needed by Lukashenko. He doesn't depend on his rating. he doesn't depend on his people, and sociology as a science is absent in Belarus. But there are Belarusians, and they have an attitude to this country, and we see that those who supported Lukashenko, this is his people, his close allies, 3%. So these 3% who support him, they are in the streets, these 3% of his close allies, and they are interested in him because they're interested in the money that they can take out from the budget. They use the schemes proposed by Lukashenko. These are these 3%. And we see that in the streets of the cities and the streets of Minsk, there are people who are in the structures, who were bureaucrats, but they are not close allies. And these people who worked with him, they hate him more than anyone else. That's why, for me, this is an official figure, 3 to 6%, no more. So this is real percentage of people who support him in Belarus. Also, he addressed the army and to the special forces. So this is the base that supports him. And for us, Ukrainian experience is really important. Solidarity among all members of society. This is important. So this is mutual support, solidarity of people who go to Maidan. So this is personal responsibility of every person. For his country, for the country we will live. And for us, it is really important to create a proper system in Belarus that will be based on democratic structure. And also, there was observation mission during last elections in Ukraine, and we were really interested how the voting is ongoing, and no matter what situation in Ukraine now, people have the right to choose their power and to correct mistakes that were made. And this is what Ukrainian nation should do. And I believe that Belarus people should get this right to elect those who will be in power as well. Yakov Demasa, fourth channel. Please characterize your attitude to those three women, Ms. Tikhanovskaya and others. Do you believe in her views? And her husband said that Crimea is Russia. And also she was condemned in being a pro-Russian candidate. Thank you. The matter is Svetlana Tikhanovskaya and her surrounding. She positions herself as a common Belarusian woman, and she has a normal attitude towards her from Belarusians, and she comes up with the slogan of protection of her children, of her husband, and people are not opposed to this, but when she is during her meetings, during her assemblies, she is never alone. She came out of the courthouse, and she was asked where are people who support her. There were some headquarters of non-existent candidates, Belarusian and Sipkala. And I would like to note, and all people who know about the situation, they see that there is good work of political technologists. Such political technologies, they are not only in, they are in Russian mainly, there are no such people in Belarus. And they used protests and fatigue of Belarusians that Lukashenko ignored pandemic of COVID in Belarus. And they used these protests in order to squeeze out Moscow scenario. But Belarusians, they have immunity, and some people try to bring these neutral white symbols. And these three women, they brought Stalin's flag and also Russian three-colored flag. And for Belarus, this is not common. No one should bring the Stalin's flags. This is from Russia. This is a provocation. And the Belarusians, they have immunity to this. They are naturally brought white and red flags of Belarus. And there should be proper national Belarus idea, and I really thank those people, because during these 26 years the power tried to ruin Belarus nation, and Lukashenko quickly tried to do all this and ruin Belarusians as a nation like they did it in Soviet times. And I'm really proud of those Belarusians who come up with the national idea. And now Tikhanovskaya, she is like a trigger. But we see that there is a natural, healthy immunity of Belarusian people, and they get rid of this Moscow scenario. And Babarika, and from who is supported by Gazprom, and KGB background Tsipkalo, they were not able to bring thousands of Belarusians in the streets who are now coming there. And I really hope that this immunity against Moscow and Lukashenko will help us to get our rights and freedoms. So the last remark, a question, please. Who wants to ask? Good afternoon, Maxim Dovish, patriot of Ukraine. About Wagner people, maybe this is a provocation of Belarus special forces to show that there is a threat, to make electorate more active in order that people started to protect Lukashenko. Dear friends, I believe that in February we spoke about it during our briefings. In Kiev there was a big international discussions with participation of people from Belarus, from Lithuania, about hybrid war of Russia against Belarus. And Russia is actively wage hybrid war. Now it doesn't use military component, but hybrid war. They differ from conventional armies, come when everything is seized. Business, politics, information space. Russia wages this hybrid war and tries to annex fully Belarus. And information space is next. And Lukashenko, they say, want to protect independence, but first we should say that 60% of information broadcasting in Belarus is Russian-speaking, Russian TV channels. They are in the package of state television channels. KGB and FSB are in the same building and one on the same floor. And we remember Mr. Pogreb, who came to Belarus and then he appeared in Russia. And there is a big army on the border, 8th Army is standing there. 2 corps of the army are in the territory of Ukraine. First, Donetsk Occupation Corps and second, Lugansk Occupation Corps. The same military capability is near Belarus. The whole division was formed that in case of need may go into Belarus. We remember exercises West 2020 when they exercised this entrance to Belarus. We underestimate Putin. He is not afraid of Lukashenko. If he sees that millions of people are fighting for independence and Putin tried to ruin language, identity, church in Belarus. You have your own, they have their own church, but we have only 8 priests in Belarus who served in Belarus language and who were not under Russian control. Many of them do not know this language, and Putin is afraid of Belarus nation. I believe that where these officers of Wagner company, and there are agents of KGB and Babich, an ambassador, came to Belarus, and he wanted to be an ambassador to Ukraine before this. And for 2 years he was traveling to military bases like Lukashenko and spoke about friendship. And the Belarusian guys, they graduate from military institutions of Russia, and they have a quota in Leningrad Academy where Putin studied, and their brains, they have brainwashing there, and they come back to their country, and they have Dzerzhinsky and occupation flag, occupation emblem, and this is a key threat to Lukashenko, that there are many agents of Russia, and he is a Russian agent himself. We should not underestimate Russia. I believe that Russia may use all scenarios, including direct military aggression, and under pretext of protection of Russian-speaking population. Unfortunately, there are Russian-speaking people from Minsk to Grodno, and he will be able to protect those Russian-speaking people even if they do not want this. So they have their agents who are brought there, and we should not underestimate this. Thank you, dear friends, for your attention. I hope that it was interesting for you, and we will meet on Wednesday, and we will discuss the results of presidential elections in Belarus, and long live Belarus.